Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V and today I'm going to show you how to navigate your first steps into the Star Citizen universe. Now, quick disclaimer, Star Citizen is in active development. That means everything I'm going to show you will inevitably at some point change. This video talks about the current mechanics of Alpha 3.7, which was released in October of 2019. If you're watching this video months down the line, then chances are a lot of what I'm talking about will have changed. Hopefully by then I'll have an updated video, but just bear that in mind if you are watching this at a much later time. So we've taken the plunge, got ourselves a starter package, and well, now it's time to explore the verse. Currently we're spawned at our hab at Port Olisar. It's a space station orbiting the gas giant Crusader, which is part of the star system known as Stanton. Let's go ahead and get up out of our bed by pressing W on our keyboard. Nice place we got here. A little too cramped for my liking, but it'll do for the time being. Remember that we'll always spawn here every time we die. Now, Star Citizen's controls handle like a typical first-person shooter with W, A, S, and D keys to move and the mouse to look around. Pressing and holding the F key brings up our interaction menu, which allows us to, well, interact with the world. Objects highlighted in orange are objects we can currently interact with and are in range. If they're highlighted in yellow, they're currently out of range, but we can interact with them. We just need to get a bit closer. Now, while in interact mode, you usually have several options to pick from while interacting with certain objects. In this case, those items on the table. I can also use interaction menu to go ahead and open the door. However, I can save myself a step of then holding the button and instead just tapping F, and that will go ahead and always select the default action for that object. In this case, just opening the door. Alright, first hurdle accomplished. We escaped our hab. Let's go ahead and make our way to the ship deck. It's always going to be on the first level, and remember, if you ever get lost, Port Olisar does have signage to help us. In this case, we're on deck 3, we need to get to deck 1, so let's take the stairs down. So here we are on Port Olisar's flight deck with the ASOP terminals in the center. All you have to do to call up your ship is walk up to any of the terminals and use your interact key to use them. You can then call up your ship and it will give you a pad. You'll also use these terminals to file claims if your ship is ever destroyed or lost for whatever reason. Now when you first spawn your ship, it gives you a pad, in this case C07. I gotta find that pad. Well, how do you do that? Well, pretty simple. All you have to do is look around for signage along the walls. So here's the terminals. There's a sign in the wall back there. So remember, we're on pad 7. That says 0 through 4. That says 9. And that says also 0, 5 through 8. So this looks like our winner right here. So let's go ahead and continue forward. And as we look up, it shows us 0, 5 through 8 in case we're lost. So it says we have to go through this airlock here. So let's go ahead and head through. Now we have to use our interaction key to go ahead and cycle the airlock, or in this case, I'm just going to tap F. Once the cycle is completed and we are out in the vacuum of space, we continue to follow the signs to where our ship is located. So here's 7. I'm going to go ahead and follow it on up. Alright, so here's the pads up here. That's someone else's ship on pad 8, minus 7. So here is my ship. I'm going to go ahead and make my way to the cockpit here. Now, to get into your ship, all you have to do is locate where your doors are or ladders or whatever you have depending on your ship. You can use the interaction menu to open it up and go ahead and select enter ship or any of the other options. In this case, again, I'm just going to tap F. All right, nice and secure. Let's go ahead and get our bearings here. Now, once again, I can use the interaction menu to get into my chair, but instead I'm just going to highlight it and tap F. All right, once we're in the cockpit, we use the interaction menu once again, and we can select various options, including opening our doors, turning on our engine, our power plant, and whatnot. We can turn on individual systems, but we're going to just instead select flight ready. What that'll do is that'll turn on our power plant and our engines.
Welcome to Robert Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
All right, our ship is now powered on. Going to give it a few seconds here to actually spool up the shields and make sure that the engines are nice and warmed up and ready to go. While that's going, I'm going to go ahead and go over the HUD with you. Now on the left side over here, we have our speed bar. Very simple to understand. It gives us a numerical value of our current speed as well as a visual indicator of our current and maximum speed, as well as it shows us our speed limiter indicated by this white bar, which will allow us to set a limitation on our current speed. And also the recommended combat speed, which is marked in red. A little bit more on that later. Next is our hydrogen fuel indicator. This is the fuel level for our maneuvering thrusters and our main engine. If this reaches 0, we're dead in the water. We can't move. So keep an eye on this indicator. Next is our G indicator, which shows us how many Gs we're pulling currently. We're sitting on a pad with a gravity generator, so we're pulling a comfortable 0.9 Gs. Next is the landing gear indicator, which is currently showing us that our gear is down. This will disappear when our gear is up. To the right of that, we have the G-safe indicator, which is currently on. What that means is the computer at all times will ensure that we don't actually push our ship too hard and over-G ourselves and cause us to black out or red out during heavy maneuvering. If this is off, however, we have more control over our ship, but we run the risk of blacking out or redding out. In the center of our HUD, we have our countermeasures indicator. Currently, we have our flares selected and we have 20 of them left, indicated by the flame icon. We can hit H on our keyboard
Chaff selected.
to cycle to chaff, and it shows how many we have there. We can hit H again
Flare selected.
to cycle back to flares. If you need to launch them at any time, you hit the G key on your keyboard. But we'll go in depth on that topic in another video. Now on the right side is our thruster output indicator, which shows us what our current output of our thrusters are. This is for a much more advanced topic, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Now one thing you'll need to remember is that we need to use our speed limiter to control what our maximum speed is at any given time. We can do that with the mouse wheel scrolling up and down to set our current speed limit. This is important because we're about to take off here. We don't want to go ahead and just shoot straight up into the air super fast. Another handy hotkey is the Z key on your keyboard, which allows us to enable free look, which is important because we want to be sure that when we take off, we don't bump our head on someone above us. So we can always check our surroundings and see if we're clear, and it looks like we're clear. So we're good to take off. So I'm going to go ahead now and hold spacebar while my speed is at a low limit. Control it with the mouse. There we go, nice and easy. Let's go ahead and gain some nice altitude here away from the pad to give people room.
Thank you, and please visit again.
Thank you, ATC. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open my speed limiter. I'm going to press the N key to raise my gear and push forward.
Landing gear.
All right,
raised.
beautiful. Now I have my limiter set to the recommended combat speed, the red bar there, which gives me better maneuverability. I can raise it here, and when I do so, I have more speed, but at the cost of maneuverability. So as I try to pull my nose around here to basically do a U-turn, my ship slides a lot because I had a lot of speed I was carrying through that turn, and it takes some time for my engines to counter it. All right, let's go ahead and boost here with Shift. And that'll give us a nice boost of speed forward. Let's go ahead and slow down, and we need to slow down more rapidly. So we're going to hit X to use our space brake. There we go. Come to a complete stop. All right, so you see that bobbling circle next to my crosshairs right there? It's just above it. That is what we call the meatball. This is actually telling us where our ship's current direction of travel is going. So you'll notice if I pull really hard here, you'll see how the meatball is to the far right. This is telling us that our ship is actually drifting to that direction. This is handy if you want to know exactly where your ship is going when you're doing tight maneuvering. Just a little tip to keep in mind. All right, once we've practiced enough here and haven't managed to kill ourselves in the process, let's go exploring. Go ahead and hit F2 to bring up your star map. All right, so now we have the star map open. We can go ahead and zoom out with our mouse wheel. We can zoom in and zoom out at any time. We can also use left click to maneuver around and right click. And in this case, we're zoomed all the way out to see the entire star system. I can hit the Find Me button at the top right with the crosshatch to find myself. Let's go ahead and go to Daymar. So I find Daymar on my current system. I'm just going to go ahead and select it. So Daymar is now selected. Next, we click Set Route. So our nav computer is set to that route. On the top left is our current quantum fuel indicator, different from hydrogen fuel. We need quantum fuel to actually travel through the system by doing quantum jumps. You'll see it has our required quantum fuel to get to our destination as well as our distance to travel. And now we're going to go ahead and get prepped to jump to our current location. So there it is on our HUD. It pops right up. You'll see it's right there. Also, if you're wondering how I'm zooming in on my HUD, you actually hold the interaction key and you use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Really handy if you're flying over a planet or you're near another ship and you want to get a better look at it. You can use this to zoom in and out. Just be mindful that you still are in interaction mode and you could potentially left click and cause all kinds of trouble. So keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit the B key on our keyboard to start spooling our quantum drive. Once our drive is spooled, we can go ahead and maneuver our nose over Daymar, and you'll see it's starting to calibrate for our jump here. Now we're spooled and we're calibrated. Holding B, again, will initiate the jump and the computer will take over.
Quantum drive is now on.
Alright, so we've made it to Daymar. Let's go ahead and find a point on Daymar that we can spline jump to. Hitting F2 to bring up our star map, we double click on Daymar to zoom in on it. Here are all the points of interest on Daymar. Let's go ahead and find one that we can jump to. Kudra ore seems good enough. Let's go ahead and click that, click set route, and exit the star map. Now, if we ever lose our sense of direction as to where our jump point is going to be that we want to actually go to, we can actually use the interaction menu real quick here, and you can see down here there's a smaller representation of the star map, and there's a green line here. This green line is telling us exactly where our jump point that we have set is located at. So I'm going to go ahead and orient. Once again, I'm going to hit B to spool my drive and then point my nose at my target here. So now it's spooling and calibrating. Once both are complete, we hold B and we jump. Now, once we're in the middle of a jump, whether it's quantum traveling or spline jumping, we don't really need to have any more input here. We could literally just sit back and relax until the system is finished jumping us there. And indeed, when we do longer jumps, say across the star system, you actually can get out of your seat and walk around your ship, assuming that your ship has a place for you to walk around in. Okay, so now we have control of our ship back. I'm going to go ahead and throttle up here. And I'm also going to open my speed limiter so we can get more speed. We can get to our destination faster. Now, the entire time I'm doing this, I'm holding the W key, which is a little inefficient because, you know, I don't want to tire out my W key finger, whatever that is. And every time I let go of the W key, my throttle actually falls back again. In order to fix that, I'm going to hit the C key to engage cruise control. This is kind of like auto run in other MMOs. I'm just going to be continually moving forward, going to whatever my set speed limit was. Now you notice our destination, Kudra ore, doesn't show up in front of us. That's until I hit the B key here to spool up my drive. Now, in the current build of Star Citizen, when you jump to a target destination, sometimes the actual destination just disappears from your HUD and you can't see where it is, so it can get lost in the terrain, especially on planets. So in order to fix that, as you see here, I hit B to spool my drive and that brings up the interface. You can just hit B again to turn it off. Really handy if you get lost or you can't find your destination. Now, as we approach the surface here, we're obviously on the dark side of this moon, and I'm about to go through a canyon and do some dangerous maneuvers and get very close to the ground. And that's kind of hard to do when I can't see anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit the T key to turn on my ship's lights. There we go. Very handy when we're navigating the darkness so we just don't end up being another crater on this moon. Now let's go ahead and find Kudra. Now, on my way over here, I seem to have overshot Kudra while I was going through this canyon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the B key again, like I mentioned before, and bring up my quantum interface. And, yep, there's Kudra. Okay, cool. I know where it is. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that. And let's go ahead and throttle up and make our way to Kudra. Once again, this tip is very handy if you get lost. When in doubt, spool up. Alright, here we are at Kudra. It's actually a trading outpost. You can land anywhere nearby, and you can actually get out of your ship, go inside, and there's a trading kiosk, and you can actually buy commodities and sell them at other facilities. But that's not what we're going to do now. We're just going to exit the atmosphere because this is just part of our basic tutorial. I just want to guide you through flying through the system and getting to understand your ship's systems and knowing how to quantum travel and spline jump. Just the basics that you're going to need to know as you're playing Star Citizen for the first time. Eventually, these things will be like breathing. You'll be able to do these easily on your own. But for now, these are common pitfalls a lot of newer players run into. As we're climbing out of the atmosphere now, we can actually hit F4 to go into third-person mode. Here we can get a much better view of our current surroundings. While in this mode, if we hit Z and then use our mouse, we can actually free look our camera around. Really handy for getting some really lovely screenshots, getting your bearings of your current surroundings, or if you just need that extra wide field of view while you're landing either at a spaceport or you're trying to land somewhere like on the moon. Alright, so we successfully navigated our way out of Daymar's atmosphere. Let's go ahead and head back to Port Olisar. Hitting F2 to bring up our star map, we're going to find Olisar on our star map here. Once we found it, we click it, and we click Set Route. Then we can go ahead and F2 to exit out. Now, once again, we can look down at our radar, and it gives us our green line that points us to our destination. Let me go ahead and maneuver and get ready for our jump. Once we found it, we go ahead and spool up, point our nose at it, and we wait for it to calibrate and fully spool. Once both are ready, we hit B and off we go.
Quantum drive is now on.
Alright, so we've successfully quantum traveled back to Port Olisar, and now we're going to go ahead and request landing clearance once we've gotten close here. We're going to hit F1 to bring up our Moby Glass, and then on the bottom panel there we have a list of apps. We're going to go for the leftmost one, which is Comlink. You click that, and on the top left there's some chat groups, but what we actually want to access is contacts. And on that you'll see it says Port Olisar Landing Services, including the Hail button there. We're going to click the Hail button to contact ATC.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
Alright, then we can go ahead and hit F1 to exit the Moby Glass, and you'll see a circle with a wrench icon, so it looks like ATC has received our hail and has successfully given us a pad here. Alright, so let's go ahead and come in for a landing now. We're going to go ahead and maneuver over the pad. Now you have to make sure you do this in a quick and orderly fashion, because if you don't, you could get a ticket from Port Olisar for obstructing the other pads. You also run the risk of running into other players. For example, somebody can end up taking off from a pad below you and hitting you by accident, and you could be fined for that. So you need to be very careful. As I come in, I bring my speed limiter down way to near the lowest level I possibly can, so I have the most control over my ship. I hit the N key to deploy my landing gear, and then I just hover over the spot. You can hit Control to descend, or alternatively, if you're not comfortable with landing, you can hold the N key while the gear is down to auto land.
Automated.
Really handy if you're, like I said, not comfortable with landing on your own and you just want the computer to do it for you. There we go.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
Alright, ATC has confirmed our landing. And now I probably want to turn off my engines to save hydrogen fuel as well as my power plant, just to conserve on energy and whatnot. However, instead of using the interaction menu to do that, I'm going to show you the hotkeys. So the first hotkey you'll want to know is I, which is to turn off your engines.
Engines are off.
The next one is U, which turns off our power plant.
Weapons system is off.
Alright, we're good to exit now. Now we can use the interaction menu to find the actual exit seat option here. However, let's just make our life easier and just use the keybind to get out of our seat. The keybind to exit our seat is the Y key. Alright, back home safe and sound. Once again though, however, if you ever forget a keybind at any time, you can just hit escape, go to the options menu, and go to keybinds. There's a nice graphical layout of all the keybinds that are currently available, and you can sort them based on different control schemes. You can also hit advanced controls here on the bottom left, and this will give you a broader overview of all the keybinds in nested format, as well as allowing you to rebind them if you desire. Star Citizen, first and foremost, is a simulation, and a detailed one at that, so there's going to be a lot of keybinds. However, daunting as it may be to have these keybinds, you'll eventually learn them as you play and you practice and you get better at the game, so don't worry too much about being overwhelmed by the keys. This concludes this tutorial video on how to navigate your way through Star Citizen for your first time. My name is Hybrid V, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have further questions, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget also to like and subscribe. It really does help me out, and it does encourage me to create more videos and content for the community and help you guys out, especially newer players. Take care, and I'll see you all in the black.